Hi everyone, I'm here today with Amy LeClair, the director of award-winning Cappella Clausura, a fabulous group that plays women composers and other composers, as well as commissioning new works, which is something, of course, that I'm extremely appreciative of. And I would like to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
So first of all, thank you for doing this concert and this recording and the project. It's just a wonderful idea. And my first question for you is how you came up with the idea.
Well, for a very long time, I've been trying to figure out how to diversify the classical music that we do, because I want to bring out women composers, but I want to bring out all women composers. And the classical world kind of stumped me for a really long time. I just couldn't figure out how to get out of it and move to other genres. First of all, because I don't know them. I'm not familiar with jazz. I'm not familiar with pop, really. And so I just didn't know how to do it. So when you wrote that piece and you gave it to me, first of all, I thought, oh, here's a really great way to encourage composers to write something. If I have these texts, which are so beautiful and lost, I think most people would be inspired, women especially, would be inspired to bring those voices back. And that's the idea. So thus the idea was born of bringing these voices back by having living composers reset their texts. Then I saw this young woman at the Gardner Museum named B. Steadwell. She's young, black, LGBTQ, tattoos and shaved head, and And she came out with a loop box and a microphone, that's it. Just her and this loop box. And she was listed in the program as singing Barbara Strozzi. Now, Barbara Strozzi is a Baroque composer whose work I do a lot. And I thought, wait, what? And she blew me away. She totally blew me away. She sang, pushed a little button on her loop box, sang a tune, Barbara Strozzi, pushed another button in the loop box, that tune played, she sang over it, pushed another button, she had 2 harmonies going, she sang a 3rd harmony over it. It was just fabulous. It was just brilliant. And I thought, okay, I am going to get in touch with this young woman. And so I did. A couple of years later, it took some time. And then I also, in my work with the Newton Cultural Council, I have met a lot of artists and musicians, 2 of whom were people that I thought, I want to work with these people. One was Tal Shalom Kobi, who is an Israeli jazz composer. She has her own band. She plays bass, and she's a composer. And I thought, okay, clock, check that. And another is Maitreyi Chakraborty, who is a Bengali singer who interprets, she's not really a composer, but she interprets the music of a poet named Tagore. And that's how she's made her fame. And I happen to love Indian music, so I thought, okay, check. And then because of your piece, I thought I was able to go to all these different women and say, here's an idea. Would you be interested in doing the music of these women, recreating it? And they all said, absolutely yes, no problem.
It's such a great idea. And I don't know if elsewhere in the interviews you're talking about, you actually explain the project, but maybe you should just explain the project itself.
So I thought, okay, Elena Ruhr, Patricia Van Ness, Tal Shalom Kobi, B. Steadwell, and me, and then Maitreyi Chakraborty. So COVID basically made it impossible for us to have any concerts whatsoever. So sitting there for a year, I'm thinking, how can I do anything? Commissioned 5 composers. We're not spending very much money because we don't have concerts. We're not giving concerts. I am paying singers, but I'm not paying rent. I'm not paying all kinds of things. So I thought, okay, I have the money to commission people now. And so we did, and that was really a great thing to be able to do that. You know, to be able to call B. Steadwell and say, look, you're a young composer, I can give you money. How cool is that, right? Very exciting. And so that's how it started, and that's how it went.
Great. My second question, I think you've answered. So I'm going to ask you a question about your own music. What did it feel to conduct your own music, and what was the experience like in these great pieces that you've written, and that I've come to love so much? What was it like for you to bring them into the world?
Well, fun fact, Elena Ruhr is my teacher. I've been studying with her. Fantastic teacher, fantastic composer. I've been having a really great time in this past year, oddly, because it's a pandemic year, but it gave me the opportunity really to dive into something I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time and just didn't have the confidence to do. Elena has given me that confidence by constantly being so encouraging and kind, and so I've written these pieces, and I thought, well, let's hear them. Conducting them was scary because I fell into all the traps of worrying. But as soon as we started to play them and I heard them live, it was pretty amazing. I have to say, I just started having fun, and I stopped caring what anybody thought about them because I really liked them. They were fun.
I liked them too. They're wonderful. It's wonderful music. And did it surprise you? Did anything about the live performance surprise you, or did it sound pretty much the way you expected it to sound?
That's a good question. I think I know the sound of voices well enough now that I could have those in my head. The instruments, maybe not so much, but I've worked with these 3 instruments in particular, Mike Williams' percussion, Nancy Hurrell harp, and Nama Leon on flute. I've worked with them for a really long time, so I pretty much do have their sound in my head. And I was fortunate to be able to write for them. Writing for instruments that I don't know as well would be very different. Yeah.
I think that you have a great advantage as a conductor in having that soundscape in your imagination. A lot of composers, when they're, their first couple of premieres, they're surprised because they don't have that imaginary soundscape that you have. And that's very apparent. It was very apparent to me when I heard them live that you had that imaginary soundscape. It's a very interesting thing.
Yeah. Rather than a MIDI sound.
Rather than a MIDI sound
Yeah.
or a piano or whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
using to create the sounds that you're
Right.
working on.
Right. The one thing I have learned, especially in working with you, and I'm a terrible pianist, but I do work with the piano, it doesn't work for vocal music at all. It doesn't work for composing. It doesn't work for reading a score of vocal music. You can, in particular, scores that I play that are like Patricia Van Ness's scores, for example. Gorgeous vocal music. Played on the piano, bleh, it doesn't, doesn't work at all.
The piano
You need that sustain, you need the quality of the sound, the bloom in the voice, all those wonderful things. So, yeah.
the piano is a very different instrument than a voice.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for your great music. Thank you for conducting your music. You are in a long line of great conductor composers.
Thank you for that.
And I'm sure that everyone is going to be excited and pleased to hear your music.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you.